Morning decisions. A creamy mocha frappuccino drink? A sweet vanilla? Maybe a smooth caramel? Or that white chocolate mocha? Whichever you choose, delicious coffee awaits. Start your day with bottled Starbucks Frappuccino drinks. Pick up a bottle near you wherever you buy your groceries.
News team, assemble!
It's back and bigger than ever. It's the unofficial 40 from Soonerscoop.com. Now, here's the entire Sooner Scoop crew. Carey, Josh, Eddie, and
George.
All right, welcome back. It is the unofficial 40 right here on Soonerscoop.com, where the gang is back. Josh is here. Eddie is here. George is getting ready to go on a little wedding vacay. He's going to explore the fine city of Destin throughout the end of this month.
Yeah, I'm going today. My flight's in a few hours for a friend's wedding down on Seaside. And then I come back on Monday next week, here for a week. And then I go back to Destin on Monday for SEC spring meetings. So going to be
the return of George P.T. Oya.
One of them is a work trip.
No, it's we're excited. The SEC meetings get ready to start. It's the second year that we've done this, that George has done this, and you only get. It's a very exclusive club. They only let certain media outlets do it, and they only let you have one person go. So we're thrilled to be able to be in that club and looking forward to that. But Josh is here. Josh and I are getting ready to hit the road tomorrow and go see Bowe Bentley. Go watch him practice a little bit in Salina. Very excited to get out on the road and do some photography and all that good stuff. So should have some good photos coming out of that and some video from Josh. And I don't know, you think we'll get to talk to him after the practice? He's not a big talker, Josh.
Yeah, I talked to his coaches and they were kind of like, you can take your chances. But I didn't get the impression that we were going to have a lot of luck. So at worst case, we'll talk to one of his head coach. His offensive coordinator is actually a guy I covered when he was a recruit. Is the son of the head coach, a guy named Nathan Elliott, signed with North Carolina like 10, 12 years ago as a quarterback out of Salina. So they, he can talk to, kind of what Bowe's thinking, where he's at, what kind of player he is. So we'll definitely have something that people should be looking out for.
But I don't know. The biggest news around here is probably Thunder win last night. It was a hell of a game.
Awesome.
I was not worried one bit. I knew they were going to win, George. I mean,
I will say I was much more positive. I should read my text that
publicly.
I had with
you actually banned yourself from social media last night.
I did. I can tell you what I told Eddie last night. I think it was Shea making bad decisions. We suck. And then what was this? We suck at 10:28 p.m. to we can do this at 10:55 p.m.
Tell us all the horrible things you said about Lugent's Dort.
I actually didn't say
Lugent's.
I didn't say anything bad about Lou, because the thing about Lou is, at some point it's going to start falling, and when it falls, it falls a lot, and it's one of those things where eventually his shot's going to fall. I think that last night was obviously the right decision to play him down the stretch. He was awesome.
He was incredible.
He's the man.
What a win. What a win. The vibe completely changed. And just talking to some of my buddies that were at the game, I stood in front of my TV the entire fourth quarter. Got off the bench. That was incredible. I think it felt bigger than just a win. Obviously, a massive win in the series, but that felt like it was a big win just for the franchise to get over that hump and get reclaim the. Obviously, they'd already taken the home court back, but now you have two opportunities to close it out. I hope it comes on Thursday. You got to be able to find a way to close it out. It's going to be tough, but in a closeout game, that's kind of the next step to take. But that fourth quarter was unbelievable.
Crazy thing is that Jokic and Murray probably couldn't have played any better, and thankfully
Jokic was incredible.
Thankfully, Brown was not good, and Russell was not good, and all road
Russ
players don't travel. Yeah.
God bless Russ. I mean, we love him, but he wasn't even hitting the rim at some points in the fourth quarter.
It was one of those games where when one of those two would take a three, you're just like, yeah, let him take it, and they would miss almost every time.
I mean, the start of the fourth quarter for Denver, the 1-for-9 start, and even like throughout that 7-minute period where they didn't score a field goal, it kind of felt like the Thunder were letting that opportunity slip away. because you look up and you're only tied or you're up by 2 throughout that entire 7 minutes. And it was just incredible. What a special win for Oklahoma City last night. And now the opportunity's there. Go close this thing out on Thursday, or you come back home on Sunday with the Game 7, and you're feeling pretty good about things moving forward here.
I know that neither one of you were there last night. I wasn't there last night, but the people that I'd talked to said that was incredible. One of the most incredible nights in
incredible
that arena's history.
The barn was rocking. There's no doubt about that. And I think that it just kind of culminated there in the fourth quarter because there was so much doubt. And especially even at the beginning of the fourth quarter when you're down by 12 with 9 minutes left, and then 8 with 8.5 minutes left. I think that there was a lot of doubt because it seemed like every time that the Thunder would get close, Denver would go back out on a run. And Jokic is just incredible. He's an unbelievable basketball player. It's bewildering to me, even now that we're almost a decade in, and especially over the last 5 years. It looks like he is just so slow, and then all of a sudden you look up, he has 44 points.
Josh, in the office, it's been a little tense because George is talked about this with us, but he hasn't handled this all that well.
No, not at all.
This is really his first time to chase a championship outside of, watching OU probably when you were a kid.
Yeah. When I was a kid, and even the Thunder when I was a kid, I was, in middle school when they were going on those runs, or early high school. The last 2016, I was a freshman in college, I think, in the Western Conference Finals, and that's the last time I remember being this stressed because those Russ and Paul George teams, I remember watching those playoffs and just thinking, well, this team, they might win a series, but they're not a true contender. They're not a true contender. So this is my first real time as an adult going through it, and I'm scared. I'm scared shitless every game, and I think I'm finally getting there now where it's like, okay, I'm way more relaxed during the games.
See, Eddie's had the Cubs, Josh has had the Astros,
I've
had the Royals.
Champion.
Yeah.
I've never
Takes
had
a lot to be a world champion.
But think about that. A lot of people my age in Oklahoma have not experienced any sort of championship.
But you didn't grow up like a fan of any real pro sports.
No. It was OU football. OU football when I was a kid, and then obviously when the Thunder came to Oklahoma City, that was a really big deal. Even though I lived in Tulsa, I became a huge Thunder fan.
Guys, I have forgotten. I remember... Because I've got buddies that always struggled with this. Always, the second quarter, OKC, back in 2016, they'd be down by 5. And my guys were like, this team sucks, everything sucks, it's all ruined. And I'm just like, grind it out, guys, grind it out. This is this NBA, it's going to come down to the fourth, we just know it. I've lost that a little bit. I felt like last night, kind of like the Thunder, I grew up a little bit. I got back to I was like, I'm not going to fall apart. I'm not going to lose it. But I can't lie. When they got down 12 in the third, I was like, oh, shit, this is a problem. But in general, I kind of like George banned himself. I put out, I was like, I'm not going to tweet angry. I'm not going to tweet angry. I just refused to let myself get too reactionary last night. And, guys, I don't know about you, but for me, it was when Dort saved the ball out of bounds. That was the moment when I was like, maybe this is going to happen. Maybe they're going to pull this off. That was kind of when it clicked for me.
I told George this morning, actually, when he got here, I think the first time for me that moment was the Chet block of Jamal Murray in the lane. Because that kind of it was one of those stops that you had to get. And then obviously, the Jokic 3 at the top of the key.
I thought they were going to lose. I was like, when he hit that, I was like,
that single shot could have sent me into therapy for the next 4 months.
Oh yeah.
See, I was like, if that's the best thing they can do, they're in trouble. They're in real. If that's all they've got is the miracle prayer. And as great as he is, because guys, everybody talked about Game 1. Jokic was incredible. He was not very efficient. He put up huge numbers, but I thought he was much better last night than he was in Game 1. I thought last night he was unbelievable for stretches of that game.
All right, for all of you out there screaming, I thought this was an OU podcast. Yes, that is our Thunder Talk. But you got to look, if you're living outside the state, you got to realize that this has gripped the entire state.
We'll round it back. Congratulations to the Dallas Mavericks on winning the lottery.
Oh God,
that's great for you guys.
Holy
I believe in you guys. I'm also cheering for the Stars. We're up 3-1 against Winnipeg right now. in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Mikko, the Moose is loose.
Mikko Rantanen. I want to get a Mikko Rantanen Thunder jersey. Or maybe like a crossover, a Dallas Stars Shea Gilgeous-Alexander jersey. I think that would hit.
I've shaken his hand before.
I've heard
we
his
could
nickname
bridge
is
the
also
waters.
The Big Horse. Which one is him? Is the Big Horse and the Moose? Like,
well,
which one's better?
In Denver, it was the Moose is loose, is what they would always say when he scored. So I don't know if that changed when he got traded to Dallas, but he was the Moose in Denver.
I just love his revenge tour. Like, hockey guys are always so chill, and he's just like, no, screw all that. I want to beat everybody.
He's incredible.
Like, yeah, I love it.
All right. Well, last night, as I was trying to get in a little nap in between the end of the workday and the start of late night basketball, I was awakened by plenty of beeps from my phone, and the Sooners pull in their first defensive commitment of 2026. Niko, is it Jandreau?
I've been saying Jandreau, but I mean, I think
I haven't heard anybody else say
it. You're
it.
putting emphasis. Yeah. I've been going with Jandreau just because it's a French name. I hear it in soccer a lot, and that's what I'm going with.
So, Josh, obviously, you immediately see, well, how high is this kid ranked? He's a 3-star, but what can you tell us about Niko?
Well, and I know, and that's kind of in the commitment breakdown story I did. I talked about I get why people are going to see his ranking and be like, oh, well, and not be overly excited about it. He doesn't fit everywhere, and when you talk about rankings, it's about where do you fit? Like how many schemes will you fit? Like, you look at the NFL draft, the guys that go in the top 10. They can play anywhere. They can play in a 4-3. They can play in a 3-4. They can do anything you want them to do, and that's why they're so valued, because everyone can make use of their abilities. Now, you have some guys that are going to be much more valuable to certain schemes than other guys are. And so this is a situation where Niko makes a ton of sense for Oklahoma. You watch him. Guys, there's some Michael Boganowski here. Like that, there is some direct comparison. He is super physical. He plays. I took it out of the story, but I was like, he almost plays like a meathead because he has no concern for tomorrow. He plays 100 miles an hour. He hits everybody as hard as he possibly can all the time. And you're like, I don't know about your shoulders, man. Like, I hope you're okay. But he is so physical. But he's a cheetah, guys. Like, that's what he looks like. He's not quite big enough to be a pure inside linebacker, and I don't think he's quite explosive enough to be a true safety. But you put him as a cheetah where Oklahoma can kind of vary what they do with him, and he makes all the sense in the world, guys. This is a guy that, again, for other teams, they're like, we like him. What do we do with him? Oklahoma's like, here, right here. This is where you go. And so he makes a ton of sense for OU.
Josh, he's another guy that I think has become kind of a common theme here over the last couple of cycles in recruiting, that Brandon Hall goes out and gets another big win.
This is, and I don't know if nationally it's just ever going to get noticed. And obviously Niko's not the highly ranked guy that everybody's going to pay attention to, but Brandon Hall identifies guys, and whether they're highly ranked or not, he goes and gets them, like from all over the country, guys. I mean, you talk about it. We've talked about landing a Peyton Bowen from Texas, a 5-star. He goes to Arkansas last year and gets a Marion Robinson. This year he's in Arizona getting Niko Jandreau. So, like, there is just a never-ending cycle of, like, he just finds players that fit and then goes and gets them and does a good job both knowing the type of person OU wants to recruit, but also making himself as flexible as he can be to these guys. Like, I can be that guy for you. I can be the fun-loving guy for this guy, and I can be the kind of, the harder nail for this dude over here that needs somebody that's really driving him all the time. Like, he can be a lot of different things. I think that's what makes a good recruiter, is to be flexible and present what you need to present. Again, like, not to the point of you're being fake, just you can be what that player needs you to be.
All right, so is this I know we've been talking about it, and people have asked you a lot, like, when's the next commitment coming? How big of a surprise was it that this just popped all of a sudden last night?
It was kind of a surprise because he had excuse me.
Uh-oh.
He had some official visits set. And, there was definitely some talk that he was going to look around and see some things. And I'd heard a lot of Washington talk, and our buddy Brian Odom up there doing a good job as well. And I think had made some inroads there. But I don't think that was something that was, just bound to happen. So I was a little surprised at the timing. I definitely thought Oklahoma led. I thought they were the most likely choice. And again, guys, I'm working on it. Probably by the time most people hear this, I will have a story up. I'm obviously putting in a prediction for his brother. I think Bowe, that's going to happen. I've talked about it on the recruiting report the last few weeks. Teammates talk about going to play together and rarely do. Twins like to be like, I don't know. Maybe we'll see what happens. And they almost always play together. So I just, even if I didn't think OU was already in really good shape for Bowe, which I know they are with Nate Dreiling doing a really good job with him, I don't think they're going to be separated. I think the plan is for them to play together. I have heard some whispers that might not be too far off in the distance, and I think that's going to relate to some other positions. For those who haven't read Woke today, go read it. Like we cover some of that ground where I think the linebacker room may be settled by it could be a week. Like, I mean, the dominoes could fall pretty fast here over the next week or two, I guess.
Josh, with Bowe, he's a for sure inside guy, linebacker, as opposed to brother Niko.
Yes, he's just a little bigger. He's like 6'1", 210, where Nico's more like 5'11", 195. And I know that kind of seems like no big difference, but I haven't seen them in person. Obviously, we're going to send Eddie out to the suburbs of Phoenix to cover these guys.
That'd be fun.
I think he's going to be very eager with that work.
I've always headed up the Scottsdale division of Soonerscoop.com.
That seems like your home base, buddy. But no, we'll get out there. We'll see him. But everything I've heard, you can tell a physical difference, and one is an inside guy. I'm interested to see if can Bowe be a Mike guy? Because if he's big enough to do that, I think he's even more interesting than as a Will. Because as a Will, he's a good athlete, but does he run like Kip? No, he doesn't run like Kip. So, and that's a tough barometer. I mean, Kip runs even unusually for good Wills. But that'll be kind of interesting to see. And I want to size him up a little bit and get a look. But yeah, he's definitely an inside guy. And then you start to look at the rest of that linebacker room where you've got, guys, the Ben Wenzel kid who gets covered in Woke earlier today. Mason Morden, he gets covered in Woke. And then you've got some of the Braxton Lindsey kid from Arkansas that we've talked a lot about. Ja'Cory Smith from Arkansas is a guy that Oklahoma's been in on for a long time, the high school teammate of Amarian Robinson. So there's a lot of dominoes that kind of feel like they're about to start falling at linebacker.
Eddie, I've always said that, being out in Paradise Valley, driving, past the Camelback Mountain, there's not another place on earth that I feel like it should be legal for you to drive around a Ferrari with like a half a pound of blow in the glove box.
Well, I'd love that. We'd have to get it cleared for fentanyl, but wouldn't that be fun?
Oh, I mean, Scottsdale, Paradise Valley, that place is mad.
Unfortunately,
if you're going out there, I'm going out there with you.
It'd be unfortunately, or would it be fortunately, that I don't think that we'd be the only people with a Ferrari driving around a half kilo.
Yeah, every time I see it, you'd just be one of many. I'm sure.
I think that's how you get into Camelback. You just open up the trunk.
Living in those homes up on the mountains and stuff.
It's a beautiful area.
Oh, it's awesome.
Beautiful area. It's one of the best times to be out there, too. Maybe back in February really is kind of the best time to be out in Arizona.
And you know what you need when you have half a key of blow in your glove compartment? You need good vision to see those cops. And Eddie would be great to have in a car in that situation.
That's why they always had Stevie Wonder around at times. The world may seem a little uncertain to us Sooner fans, but one thing is clear. LASIK at Enjoy Vision brings life into focus. They're giving away $1,000 right now if you are so interested in LASIK to enjoy the freedom of life without glasses or contact lenses. All you got to do to schedule a free consultation is go to enjoyvision.com. That is the letter N, Joy vision.com to save $1,000 on LASIK and start seeing the good around you. Enjoy Vision. This is where Sooner Scoop LASIKs.
And to go along with that vision, you've got all these late night games going on right now. You might be struggling at work like Eddie and I and George do the next day. Here's what I want you to do. Go to Cody Drug RX on Instagram and go check out our buddy Will Douglas. He's got a lot of suggestions on how you can sleep better at night, how you can feel better during the day. And he's kind of like the new age pharmacist that he's directing you to areas that help you live a better and healthier life. If you're looking for more energy, better focus, you just want to stay ahead of the game, check out NAD Plus injections from Cody Drug. This is the next big thing, and a lot of Hollywood celebrities are doing it, talking about it all over social media. It's quick, it's easy. Just head to CodyDrugRx.com, book a short telehealth visit, and your NAD Plus injection or nasal spray ships out the very next business day. Cody Drug custom compounds everything in their state-of-the-art sterile lab, including specialized medications for men's health, weight loss, anti-aging, and more. And like I said, better sleep at night. They also love working with Oklahoma med spas and clinics, so if you're in healthcare, they're ready to team up again. That's CodyDrugRx.com. Feel better faster without Schmitty and stadium steps. So give them a call if you just want to get better through your day or get through your days better like we do. So, all right, Josh, I know there was another interesting recruiting nugget that I saw over the last couple of days, and that was a guy named Tavian Branch. What can you tell us about this youngster? He's a guy that can kind of play a little bit all over the place.
Yeah. And first I did, as you started the ad read, I realized I literally had a delivery from Cody Drug sitting on my porch. So I had to run and go get it. They, ordered that on Monday, got it here in Houston on Wednesday. So again,
faster than Amazon.
Quick. Yeah. Awesome. Been awesome to deal with Will and those guys. But anyway, yeah, with Tavian Branch, this is, guys, we keep talking about positions where you're like, well, okay, I think OU's in a good spot. I just don't know how it plays out. This is a guy they put a lot of energy into. This is someone that I think Oklahoma has made a focus. And what's interesting about Tavian is he's a guy that, depending on which school you're talking to, they're talking about two different sides of the line. Usually there's kind of a consensus. Like, okay, maybe one school likes this guy as a D lineman and one school likes him as an O lineman or whatever. But, like, for him, it really is kind of a mixed bag. But Oklahoma's recruited him exclusively on the D line, and he really likes Todd Bates. That relationship's really good. He came down earlier this spring. And for him to come in on June 20th, Oklahoma's going to get that. The June 6th visit weekend. That's a huge defensive visit weekend. Oklahoma's got a bunch of guys coming in that weekend. Brian Harris, who I know our guy Steve Wiltfong put in a prediction earlier this week, big kid from Mandarin, Florida. So if you could find a way to make that work and you get Brian Harris and Tavian Branch, I know people are talking, like, because every time I do anything, it's like, well, where's this class going to end up ranked? Where's it going to end up ranked? They're not in on the 5 stars and the top 50 guys in the country that are going to make this a top 10 class. I don't think that's what's going to happen here. But they are making good evaluations. When I'm watching players on tape, I'm like, these are good. Like, Brian Harris is really, really good. And I'm kind of surprised he's kind of slid under the radar as long as he has. I think he's a very good player. Tavian Branch is a big physical guy. Kind of reminds me of like body type, kind of like to a Jordan Kelly, like kind of that type of guy. Although I think he's more explosive than Jordan was. And obviously having, years under Todd Bates, we've watched what Todd Bates has done with Grayson Halton. We've watched him develop some of these guys and know, even if he was at a similar starting point, Todd Bates is a absolute developer. Like, he makes these guys better. And I think Tavian Branch has a lot of nice raw tools.
I was trying to, 2026. When you look at it now, like you talked about, big visit weekends coming up and things like that, but do you think that it is something by the end of July, like we're looking at this class completely different than we are now?
Yeah, I do, because I do think, guys, and we've seen this since Brent got here, there will be guys that OU offers and the fans are like, who's this guy? Like, why should we be excited about this guy? And then as evaluators, on 3, 24/7, rivals, whatever, has a chance to watch these guys, they just climb. The rankings just climb. And so I think this idea that some OU fans have that, like, this isn't going to be a top 25 class, don't be crazy. Like, it'll be better than you think it will be. If OU, to me, the two guys OU's got to go get, we're going to go see one of them tomorrow, Carey. Bowe Bentley needs to be part of this class. Like, that needs to happen. Yeah. On the defensive side of the ball, it's Jake Cruel. If you can go get those two guys, and I think Oklahoma leads for both of those guys as we sit here. If that can happen, and I know speaking to sources at other programs, they feel the same. Like in both those cases, schools feel like they're chasing Oklahoma. So if you can go get those two guys, okay, you've got a couple of top 50, top 75 type players in the country, and then you can start to build on that. You start to build a little momentum, and then maybe this class does look different. Now, if OU goes out and fires 9-3, 10-2, guys, if we're talking playoff in November with Oklahoma, maybe they could pull off a steal. Maybe they double back to Jonathan Hatton and are like, hey, remember how much you love DeMarco Murray? Maybe you want to take another look, that kind of deal. Mm-hmm. Because guys that are not picking Oklahoma, it's not about they don't like Oklahoma. It's not about that Oklahoma's NIL isn't where it needs to be. They have been beat over the head that Oklahoma is not going to be, like, that it's in trouble.
It's getting the staff's getting blown out.
Exactly. And if OU can say, guys, look, that's not happening. Like, we're competing, to get to the SEC title game or whatever, whatever it is. If they can prove that, then it changes the narrative completely. And a lot of guys, and I'm not saying OU's going to go flip 10 guys in November. That's just not really the way recruiting works right now. But could they pull off 2 or 3 steals? Yeah, absolutely possible.
ChatGPT Plus is free for college students through May. Here's the thing. You've got a lot to do between now and then. Studying for finals, writing papers, trying to keep your life on track. And ChatGPT can help with all of it. It can quiz you for your econ exam, make a study guide from your French notes, plan out your meals and study breaks. It can get really specific on how you like to learn. It can even help you come up with ways to stop procrastinating. So from now until summer break, take advantage of all the ways ChatGPT can make your life easier. Restrictions apply.
I think there's a couple of things here that they need to go right for the season. One is they need to compete for the college, for a spot in the college football playoff. But they also need these guys that Jim Nagy has kind of brought in, the Jaden Otts and the other, the Satanias or whoever you want to. All the transfers, they need to show the rest of the world like we're making good evaluations and we're putting people in position to be successful. Like our front office is not only are we going to sign good recruits, but we're going to sign good transfers. Whereas a lot, they have an edge if it works with Jim Nagy and building this thing out the way they had, because nobody's really doing it like this. So if they can prove that that's a benefit, not only for the recruits, but the fans, I think, will pay attention and stand up on that. But like you said, there's a lot riding on success this year. And I know George has been saying that they need to get out to a 5-0 start, like beating Michigan at home. I think
beating Auburn at home.
Like that is a good thing that you have this schedule that you have this year, because it can kind of accelerate the excitement around your program if you get those early wins.
I would also add on top of that, not only the guys that like Jim Nagy and this new front office have brought in, but somebody like an Elijah Thomas to be a contributor, like to play as a true freshman, like that can help. David Stone taking another step, showing true development and growth at the defensive tackle position. PJ in his third year, like it's all of those things. Like if those guys can show that early in the season or throughout the season, like then you can really build on, look at the momentum and the development and the growth. And Nagy was able to go out and get these guys in the spring portal, and Jermichael Carter's actually a contributor. Tate Sandel's a good kicker, like all of those. Jaden Ott's a star in the SEC. Like you do all those things, then the hopium.
John Mateer.
John Mateer. The hopium, Ben Arbuckle in the offense. Like the hopium is through the roof, and you can play that into recruiting or the winter portal or whatever it is. So, it's just a massive. I was thinking about this the other day. This feels like the biggest, and I feel like we say this a lot, and it's cliche, but it does feel like the biggest season for OU football in a while, in terms of like reputation, the trajectory of the program. Like, this is, obviously jobs on the line. Like, this feels like just a monumental season for everyone involved with the program.
Well, and it's such
better not fuck it up.
I was wondering.
It's such a variety of outcomes.
Sure.
Because I can make the argument that OU does kind of sneak into the playoff. Like, that world exists. At the same time, OU could go 6-6 against this schedule, and like we said, I think maybe on last week's pod, they could be 6-6 and be better than last year, like notably better. The schedule is still just monstrous. Like, you're playing, like, you could play South Carolina so much better than you did last year, but you lose in Columbia, which I don't think most OU fans appreciate. That's a really tough place to play that I don't think you really know until you go there. Like, it is a super hostile environment.
I did not realize, I got this question in my mailbag this week, that OU plays 7 new quarterbacks, 7 quarterbacks that
will be starting for
the first time at their school. And it's like, I think it's Michigan, Auburn, Texas, Missouri, Alabama, Tennessee, and maybe one more.
It technically, like,
Ole Miss.
Arches started a game, but
yes,
like,
but like
first time real. This is your team.
The guy.
You're the starter. Type situation.
And going through those, I'm like, well, you kind of feel good about OU's chances against a true freshman quarterback at Michigan, and I believe that he's going to be a really good player, but in his second ever start on the road, it's going to be tough. Missouri at home, Ole Miss at home with new quarterbacks. Like, those are games Oklahoma should win, theoretically. Tennessee on the road, I think, is a more winnable game than it was originally.
And the good thing is, you face a new quarterback at Alabama.
Right. I do think Alabama's going to be a lot better this year than they were a year ago.
Yeah. So somebody asked me, like, look at the offenses Oklahoma will face, and not like offense versus defense. Who do you expect to have the better offense? And guys, I was shocked when I kind of went through it. I would say the majority of OU's schedule, if OU's offense is what I think it's going to be, I think they'll have the edge over the majority of the quality opponents they'll play. Like, I think they'll be better offensively than Missouri. I think they'll be better offensively than Auburn. I think they'll be better offensively, and you're just like, what's happened? Like, what am I saying here? I was truly surprised at kind of how that outcome came from the board chat. One of the questions I got. Well,
what you're saying is a quarterback and an offensive coordinator make a hell of a big difference in college football.
It does it, but to me, I continue to fall back on. I feel like this season, and it's not always on one position. We saw that last year. There was a lot of things that went wrong.
Yeah, the offensive line sucked.
And that's my point. Is this season, not that it just totally hinges on that, but the offensive line has got to be, just light years better than it was a year ago for them to have any chance at doing what we're saying. Like, they have to be so much better.
I don't know how quickly it's going to take, or how quick it's going to come together. That's my only thing. I think it will eventually come together, and it won't be anything like it was a year ago, unless you just have a bunch of injuries.
Good news and bad news with that. I mean, you're going to find out in week 2.
Yeah.
Is this thing going to be, because you remember back to last year when we would come in and do the Eskridge Lexus postgame show, there were games even in the early portions of the season, whether it be Tulane, Houston
should have lost
Temple to a certain extent before things got rocking in the second half, that they really struggled to run the football and they really struggled to protect the quarterback. I think we'll know by week 2, like, okay, does this have a makings? And who's to say they can't get better? Obviously, that's going to be important, but you're going to walk out of the Michigan game. I don't care what they've lost off that defensive line. I know they lost the Graham kid that was the top 10 overall pick, but
they always have D-line.
They're going to have a good defensive line. They're going to be a very, very good unit that Oklahoma will be tested by. But that's also why I think Jaden Ott will go for 350.
Well, and my take on the offensive line is that it will eventually be good, because I think they'll start to get Michael Fasusi in there, getting more reps and getting used to how to play college football and becoming a guy that can hold his own.
They also just have more depth there, where you don't feel like when one guy goes out, they're just totally screwed. Now they got to stay healthy, but last year it just felt like if one person gets hurt, this whole thing just falls apart.
And I think we all like Derek Simmons, but we don't know. I mean, can he really play in the SEC? Can he stand up to that? But he looks the part at times, and we've seen a lot of practice, but until you get out there, you just don't know on some of those guys. I mean, I think what's his name from USC, the transfer last year,
Michael Tarquin.
Michael Tarquin. I mean, he gets banged up and he looks the part, but he just ends up not being the part.
Well, and I think that George and I, we did the offensive recap just coming out of the spring, and we talked about the offensive line position, and I think that it's a good thing to have that we can sit here and talk about maybe 8 or 9 guys that are going to be in that mix. I don't know who's going to be that starting 5 at the end of the day or the beginning of the year, but you do have a little bit more depth that you had from a year ago, and maybe it just makes us feel better because overall they probably weren't great by the end of the season. It was better though from where they were, particularly at the beginning of conference play when you go down to Auburn or even the trip to Oxford when you simply couldn't run an offense because Jackson Arnold was getting pounded.
Yeah, Ole Miss was the worst. I mean,
was it 9 sacks?
It was the worst.
9 sacks in that game,
and it was also that situation where it's like when it gets to the end of the game and you're behind and you need to throw the ball.
No, you
just had no chance.
You couldn't do it.
Yeah,
until the bowl game when they put together the 2-minute warning drive right before they fell short.
And that's the funny thing to me. Like, we keep talking about tackles. Logan Howland just goes forgotten. Like, we don't even hardly talk about Logan Howland. And guys, down the stretch, he played pretty good football for Oklahoma.
Yeah.
He played well against Alabama. I get it. Like, he was out the spring, which would have really been helpful for him to not only to get reps, but even just going through off-season workouts and that kind of stuff would have been huge for him. The question I come back to, guys, and George, maybe this is perfect for you. I don't know. What is better for Oklahoma? Is it better if Jacob Sexton is good enough to hold off Michael Fasusi, or is it better that Michael Fasusi just can't be held off? Like, I don't know.
Michael Fasusi.
What is the better answer? Right? Isn't that right? Like, I mean, is that right? Am I crazy?
I mean, it would be.
God, it's a lot to put on a freshman.
It is, but
it's
like
floor ceiling.
If he's that good, he's that good, that is awesome. And like that would be great for recruiting. Like I said, if you can get some of those guys and they play well, like if Elijah Thomas comes in and plays well, if Michael Fasusi comes in and look, he's gonna have freshman moments, right? Like he's going to come in and make mistakes. He's gonna get beat. That's going to happen. But if 90% of the time or even 80% of the time he's just dominating and playing extremely well, like you live with that, man. Like as a true freshman left tackle, I mean, you got to, because then think about how much better he'll be the next year. Because it's not obviously this season is huge, and I just said it's the biggest season in a long time for OU football. But if things go the right way this year, then you're building, what can it be in 2026? And if Fasusi can get out there and get a lot of playing time under his belt, then it was definitely worth it to have him out there. Now, I still think Jacob Sexton could play a role in this team. Maybe if Fasusi's so good and Sexton's also playing well, you could slide Sexton to guard if you wanted to. You could put him over at right tackle, which he's played. Like he's versatile.
I think it comes down to, with both Foje and Fasusi, it's like how much can you put them out there without it destroying their confidence? And I mean, I think they'll be careful with that. And then injuries, playing through injuries. I mean, as a true freshman, you don't really know how injured you can play, basically. Like a lot of guys, if they get a bad ankle in high school, they'll sit out for a week or two. Like in college, they're like, no, you just have a bum ankle. You're still playing. Like, especially along the offensive line. I mean, I can't tell you how many offensive linemen went from good to great because they figured out how to play hurt. And I mean, that was something that, whether it was Kevin Wilson or anybody else that was an offensive line coach, that was always a lesson they were teaching the young guys. So I would imagine Fasusi and Foje will go through that a little bit, this season too.
Yeah, like I said, I mean I think guard is an interesting conversation because you've got Ozida, who another guy that missed all spring. Foje came along.
Eddie
Pierre-Louis. Yeah. I mean, like, there's a lot of, and we don't even talk about Fabechi Nwiwu, who started every game last year. Like, I mean, it's crazy. They suddenly have options. It's just like, is someone going to be better than just like, well, he's the best we've got? Are people going to step up and actually be consistent and good.
Yeah. All that being said, I think this offense is going to be a lot better. I mean,
yeah.
I think
we've said it before, but it can't be worse.
No,
it truly can't be worse as a product, not a game to game, but just as an overall product. I think that what Ben Arbuckle and John Machir, just those two being here, calms everything down a little bit. They should be able to pick up, at the very least, a couple first downs every once in a while.
I don't want to say you could not pay me because if you came up with the right figure, I'd be fine with it, but I'm not rewatching that Texas game. I'm never going to be like, oh, let's just go back and see if it was as bad as I thought. No, it was as bad as you thought. I mean, like some of the shit that they were doing offensively last year it set OU football back years. I mean, it was just, you think of all the offensive coordinators that have been around here, all the success, all the Heisman Trophy winners, to know that was the offense last year. It was just, I mean, I'd been told, like, you know, Britt was like beside himself because he'd made that move and like he knew it ruined the season, like, and it almost got everybody fired. I mean, it was terrible. It can't be any worse.
That's a great off-season topic, like a pod where we just like, what was the low point? Like, when was the worst of the worst?
Oh, it's the off-season, Josh.
South
We're
Carolina.
Here. Yeah.
No, it was South Carolina.
No way.
Oh my God, that was.
I think Missouri was the low point.
Missouri.
Yeah.
Those were low points.
When you return
what about
a fumble
the first
for
quarter
a touchdown and you salt the game away, like it's over. All you have to do is just salt this thing away, and then you fumble the ball back to them, and you end up losing the. That to me will not be. You cannot surpass that low point.
Winning a game by 7 and then losing a game by 7 in regulation, not going to overtime is still like one of the more incredible portions of the season. But I think falling behind to Maine, that was kind of a low point.
Yeah, that was bad.
Even though they came back and won the game in a blowout fashion, they were getting beat by Maine.
Well, okay, but here's my question. In 10 years, and we look back and go, what do you remember about the 2024 season? What will be the thing that stands out?
How bad Jackson Arnold was.
Bauer Sharp. I think it'll be the Missouri game. That'll be the one game that I'll be like, I remember Jackson Arnold fumbling the ball with 20 seconds.
So it kind of goes hand in hand. I'm still just completely, I wouldn't say blown away, shocked, because it happens, but the deer in the headlights look that Jackson Arnold had for most of the season was just shocking. Because Josh, we went and saw him at Geyer multiple times. That was a fantastic football team. They were playing for state titles. I thought that he was going to be a sure thing, next great generational quarterback at Oklahoma, and it just simply wasn't. And I know a lot goes into that. It wasn't all on Jackson, but maybe just the level of unpreparedness that came with his freshman season was just shocking. And especially after what we saw in the Alamo Bowl, where it wasn't great by any means. Obviously, they turned the ball over a lot. He turned the ball over a lot.
But there was a lot of good flashes.
But there was a lot of flashes. We didn't see that any in 2024.
Guys, what would you like the first half against Ole Miss? I could say Jackson Arnold played pretty well. Other than that, I can't think of a point in time where I was like, okay, he's kind of got it cooking today. Like
Alabama,
and I
with his feet.
Well, I mean, that was just, they were like, we're not throwing the ball, Jackson.
Yeah.
We're just going to let you run the ball and do. But you're right, George. I'm with you though. Like, I can't remember being that surprised. And guys, it was so bad last year that even though I still believe in Jackson Arnold's talent, I don't know how you mentally overcome that at Auburn this year. Like, I like the second you get hit or the second things start going wrong, how does it not just snowball on you? Like, I feel like that's it's kind of like what Carey was talking about with Foje and Fasusi a little while ago, like making sure they get to maintain that confidence. There's a part of me that thinks Jackson Arnold, and not entirely through his own fault, might just be broken after last year and how badly it went for him.
Josh, will you ever look at the Denton Geyer quarterback the same after we've kind of talked about all the failures coming out of there and seeing it firsthand with Jackson Arnold? Like, maybe that's one of those places that it's made for someone to be successul and it doesn't allow you to gauge their true talent level.
I mean, Eli Bowen was great.
It's a great system. It is, but you're not wrong, Carey, because like you look at it, probably, and I'm sitting here pulling it up, probably the most successful quarterback from that program through the years, and I want to make sure I'm right. Yeah, it's J.W. Walsh. He's the best player they've produced. And J.W. Walsh, Gerard Hurd, Jackson Arnold, Eli Stowers, obviously Kevin Sperry, and they've got a young kid now, a 2027 that a lot of people really like, a Zephyr Cray that I know some people thought should have started over Kevin Sperry last year. So they'll be locked up again and be really good. So and now some of it, they run a system. That's why everybody was so excited, because they run a system very similar to Jeff Lebby's. Like their head coach and Lebby are part of that same. They work together at Baylor under Briles. Like they go way back. So there was all this familiarity, and you kind of thought, well, they'll just plug this in and go. But again, last year, I just don't put a lot of the success on Arnold or the failure on Arnold, but at the same time, it went so badly, I don't know how you recover from it.
Yeah, it's why first round picks in the NFL draft at quarterback turn out to be busts sometimes, because they're going into a terrible situation, and they don't have blockers up front. They're getting killed every week, and they just lose all confidence.
He's definitely going to throw for 3 touchdowns though when he comes to Norman. I think that's enough.
Like if
2024
OU could win that like 35-21, I'd kind of be okay with that. Like let Jackson have his moment.
I think that's enough 2024 talk. That's a lot of PTSD going on there.
Executive producer George Stoya.
Well, people are probably like, they want to just wipe that whole season from their brain, and I don't blame them.
When George asked that question earlier, they're like, I'll never remember that season. I want to black out everything.
Yeah, I just look at it from my own perspective as like, guys, it was terrible last year. It's not going to be that bad again. Like, if it is that
don't
bad
say that.
again.
It could be. It might be.
It always could be.
We don't know if it will be or not.
It
Hope
won't
it
be.
isn't.
It will
Eddie
not be.
Eddie and I came in here every week. Every week we would say on our YouTube show, we'd be like, it can't get any worse. And then it got worse every
and somehow
single week.
It not only got worse, but it was drastically worse.
Yes.
Like within the first 15 minutes of real time, South Carolina worse.
I'll say the South Carolina game was, that
was a breaking point of, goddamn, I just haven't seen it this bad ever.
No, that was like
that's why it's the low for me.
The South Carolina game was definitely my realization. like, oh my God, this is just as bad as the John Blake era was.
I think we had some late 90s discussions after that game.
Because at that point you were like, it's not going to recover. It's here. Like this is what it is. We got to ride the rest of this out for the rest of the year.
So bad.
I'll just remind everybody, we love every time that we talk to Ben Arbuckle. The 3 times or 2 times that it's happened.
He sounds exactly like Lincoln Riley. It's just
I wish people would stop saying that.
But it's the truth.
I don't care. I just wish people would stop saying that.
As long as he's not a douche to the same degree, then it's fine.
Lincoln wasn't a douche until the end.
Well, he revealed his douchiness. He was a secret douche. He was a hidden douche.
Those are the best douches.
Hey, and only one had the balls to call him out on his douchiness before the douchiness.
Shout out.
Well done, Carey.
He's recruiting his ass off this year. Yes, but like you said, Josh, that could fall apart really fast when you're paying people to commit, allegedly.
There's plenty of dollars at work there.
All right, so I don't know. I've just scrambled my own brain with that 2024 talk, so I don't know where else you guys want to go to. I mean, recruiting wise, Josh, is there anything that we should talk about? I mean, we're going to go see Bowe Bentley tomorrow, but is there anything? What's the next kind of trips that you have planned?
So the problem has come up with a few guys I was going to go see, and then I'd talk to people, and they're like, "Yeah, OU's not really either in there or they're not that focused on that guy anymore." I'm like, well, okay, let's flip that trip around. So, and it's not like last year where OU had Torrey Blaylock in the Houston area. There's not as many guys in reasonable driving distance for me. So, no, the next thing, guys, I mean, we're only like 10 days away from Oklahoma. And I'll go to see Cooper Hackett and Caden Penny and all the OU in-state offers. Should see all of them that week, all the guys that hold an OU offer that week. obviously gonna try to get by and see Jaden O'Neal, and kind of, if that situation hasn't further clarified itself, you got to do the due diligence. You got to go by and see him and catch up with him and kind of see where he's at. But
will he talk to us?
What's that?
Will he talk to us?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Jaden's never stopped. Like, he's a good kid. Like, I mean, and we haven't. I feel like we've been the most honest and transparent about this.
I mean, that's what I was wondering. Like, if he would talk to us, because we've been honest the whole time about what's really happening.
Yeah, I get why he doesn't want it out there, but like, I don't think he's ever held that against me. Like, he's always been fine. I've talked to his dad a couple of times, and I fully understand why they probably would wish we'd just shut the hell up. Like, I get it. But it's like, I've never gotten a sense of like animosity or hard feelings or anything like that.
Well, I mean, I would say this: we haven't like drilled it into the ground. We talked about it when it was first happening.
Yeah.
We talked about it behind the scenes long before we ever said anything publicly, like what could be going on. The Bowe Bentley stuff when it was first emerging. Like, we didn't make a big deal out of it until eventually we were just like, okay, we don't understand why they haven't, said something or done something.
And for me, part of it was like, if we don't say something, this is going to break, and people are going to be like, why didn't you tell us? Like,
yeah.
I thought this would be covered by now. I thought this would be done a month ago, and it just hasn't happened for whatever reason.
And to be honest, we've heard that there have been deadlines that OU had set, like the staff had set, like, okay, we're gonna shed the light on this, or we're gonna make a decision, we're gonna tell people stuff, and it just has continued to drag out. That's never happened.
It's definitely strange. But yeah, going to see Oklahoma. And then, guys, I mean, I will be in Oklahoma the last week of this month, turn around, and then like 2 days later, OU's camp starts. And then we'll have 4 days of camp through the first couple weeks of June and see a whole mess of guys. Like, I think I've got something like 30 guys confirmed already that are, legit either offers or target type of guys. Zane Rowe is a guy that'll be there again. Ooh. So get to see him. The Marcus Fakatau kid from Orange County, he'll be there. So there's. Do
you think Zane Rowe will work out?
Summer camp. Yeah, that's my expectation. Guys, I mean, people, like, I had somebody on the board ask me this week, like, what happened? Like, OU's just out of it for him. And I'm like, I am telling you, as long as Miguel Chavis is the defensive ends coach at Oklahoma, they 100% are not out.
Dude, he was here hanging out during spring practices on his own dime.
Yeah. Yeah. He loves OU. He loves Miguel Chavis. He's another one of those guys. Everybody's like, they're not going to be there. They're not going to be there. If OU goes out and fires like a 9-3, 10-2 season, it wouldn't shock me at all if he's back in OU's 2027 class, this time next year.
I mean, I look forward to seeing that guy every time, because he just gets bigger and bigger with every time we see him. Like, when he was there at the spring practice, like, he literally was almost in the middle of the huddle. Like, I think there were some former players, I think I can't remember the player that was. I mean, Stutzman was there one day, but he wasn't over there. But like, yeah, I mean, he's into it, man. Like, he's still engaged. I just don't. I don't know who's floating it out there like, they're out, but I can't see that at all. Just from that one day.
No.
Meanwhile, off topic, Michael Fasusi just posted a video on his Instagram. I just tweeted it out of him dunking a basketball before his high school graduation. It's pretty impressive. Like, he's in his full gown and stuff, and his like dress shoes and everything. He just goes up and just one hand slam.
I like that.
Go ahead and start him week 1. Let's just do it.
Picking it up right now.
I'm watching. It's on George's page. Everybody listen if you haven't seen it.
And he's got dress shoes on, too.
He's in his gown.
Yes. He just gets up and throws it down like it's nothing.
That's amazing.
Put him on Porter Moser's squad.
Hey, he's got 5 fouls to use.
Should we do some stickball big stick
I don't know.
ball.
Can we talk about it after this weekend, Eddie? Or do you want to talk about it? It wasn't a pleasant series.
I don't care. They got their ass kicked. I mean, not much around that. It was a bad weekend over in Lexington. Got swept for the second time this season in conference play. And
by the way, you want to talk
was,
about baseball stadiums, man? That place Kentucky's got is impressive.
Is it?
Did you not like? They got like the whole suites and stuff over there. It's like,
I mean, I think it's kind of on the low end of the SEC stadiums, but I don't know. It didn't strike me as anything, just seeing some of the videos or watching the games this weekend, but the play on the field was miserable. They need to have a nice bounce back weekend. Obviously, Texas coming into town this weekend. The Horns just need one game to close out the regular season in the SEC for the conference title, but they've lost 5 of 6 going into this weekend, so not exactly the most glamorous matchup on paper, but both teams headed in the NCAA tournament in 2 weeks. Got the the NCAA tournament, and then the SEC tournament in Hoover next weekend. But I mean, I thought the pitching was miserable this weekend. The offense continues to be pretty poor, and they just haven't really played that well over the last month. So they got to kind of figure it out before you get into regional play. I don't think that the Witherspoon thing is too much to look into. Kyson wasn't very good. Got knocked around on Friday night. Gave up 4 runs in 1 inning in the 3rd inning. Definitely more worried about what you got from Kate Crossland and Malachi Witherspoon, which isn't much over the weekend. Walks and hit batters seems to be the big takeaway from last weekend in Lexington. They walked 12, hit 7. It's just not very good.
it was out of the blue too. I mean, for me at least. Maybe it wasn't for you, but
I thought that there would be a little bit more fight. I didn't like the they kind of just rolled over and took it all 3 days, and that's not a good thing. So we'll see where they're at this weekend. I think it's kind of a nice litmus test to see just what the fight looks like over the course of the next 3 days. That series starts on Thursday in Norman too.
Would you say that they're out of the running now for a regional?
Yeah, they're out. They're not. Well, they're out to host. They're still going to make the NCAA tournament.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, I think that they're out for hosting.
By the way, $49 million Kentucky Proud Park was opened in the 2019 season.
Okay. So pretty new.
Yeah.
Point to Carey.
For what?
That's not a contest. Stop trying to pit us against each other.
I like when you guys are against each other.
It was. It's a nice ballpark. It's nicer than Eldell, but I think everything in the SEC is nicer than Eldell.
Yeah, that's the last renovation is just for like coaches' offices, wasn't it? And locker rooms.
Yeah.
Nothing that the fans would notice.
No. Hopefully that stuff is.
God, when are they going to get that?
Track.
When are they going to get that done? Like, when's the money coming?
$20 million.
They still need that much money.
I don't know how much it is. They need money though. Yeah. To get a.
I don't believe it's
shovel in the ground.
By the way, I don't believe that's how much it is.
I think it's like 15, 14.
I think it's closer to like 10.
Well, 15's closer to 10.
Last I heard, and that was months ago.
Yeah, I don't know how the whole tariff thing is affecting construction right now. Their construction costs. All right, well, softball, we didn't get to see the SEC championship game. I know a lot of people thought it was dumb, but I'm just of the opinion it didn't really matter. I mean, these guys are all getting ready for regionals, selection show. It would have been cool to see what would happen if you put that offense of Oklahoma against that offense of Texas A&M. I mean, certainly Sam Landry was going to have to throw if they were going to have a chance in that one with that firepower. But OU does host, won't have to leave the state again. Number 2 overall seed. They might have got the number 1 if they'd beaten A&M in that SEC championship. But it's. We had Aaron Miller on the Family Business yesterday. That'll be out next couple of days. But it did remind you a little bit watching that Arkansas game of, holy shit, this is what OU softball is supposed to look like.
Insane comeback.
6 home runs.
Insane comeback. And, I think that the way that it happened too, with 5 of them being solo shots.
Yeah.
And then obviously Gabby Garcia's 3-run walk-off. That was incredible to watch. It's kind of cool.
It's just the pitching question. I think that they have the bats to do it, and that might be able to get them all the way. And maybe Sam Landry can, find her inner Paige Parker and just carry this team all the way. But want to see a second pitcher. And I think they got something from Audrey Lowry in that Arkansas game. Yeah. She came in and shut that shit down while they were on that comeback. So maybe she can be that number 2. But I think it's going to kind of be by committee and just whoever's got the hot hand other than Sam Landry.
It's the first person that's really done anything besides Landry outside of the state borders.
Yeah.
Because that's been the thing. It's like they've been able to get people at home that have pitched well, but when they're in a hostile environment, the pitching staff just hasn't handled, outside of Landry, hasn't handled it at all.
And I feel good about saying they're going to make Oklahoma City, but their super matchup is going to be pretty tough with Alabama, who beat them in the series earlier this year. I mean, that is not an easy matchup in the supers. So we'll see. But
it's a lot like we were talking about with the Thunder earlier. Like, people are going to have to adjust to, like, it was crazy that OU lived in a world where they would just beat the shit out of people in a super regional. Like, that's not the way it's supposed to work. You're supposed to have to grind out 4-3 games and that kind of stuff. And they were just so damn good. And this team's really good too, but they don't have that ability just yet. Like, they can't just run away from people and not at least not day over day. And so people are just going to have to accept, like, doesn't mean this team's not good. Doesn't mean this team can't win a national title. It just may be you have, a lot more kind of, butt-puckering moments with this team because they just don't have the ability to separate in the experience that previous group did.
And I think that, there's a lot of teams around the country, especially in the SEC, that could win it all. I mean, it feels truly wide open. A lot of teams have gotten a lot better, and, Arkansas was playing extremely well, Texas A&M. Yeah, I think Texas has kind of fallen apart, but they are still really talented.
7 of the top 8 national seeds are from the SEC. I think it's 9 of the top 16 seeds are from the SEC in the softball side of things.
It's insane, and you can convince me, like, probably any of those 9 could maybe win the national title. Like,
well, it's crazy. Like, we had that discussion with Erin Miller yesterday, and we asked her, like, who's the dark horse outside of the SEC? She didn't even want to get into it. I mean, she's like, no one knows. Like, no one knows who's going to be the one that comes up and competes, because it's very confusing to the softball world right now that you don't have, a pack. That's never happened before. Like, that part of the country ruled softball for so long.
Still very weird to see, like, even more so than football and basketball, to see UCLA in the Big Ten softball.
Yeah, and maybe it's UCLA. I mean, maybe they're the team that comes out of it. But, I don't know if the Red Raiders have the horses. They've got Niger Kennedy. But do they have, would they have even sniffed the Big 12 championship if Texas and Oklahoma were still in the league?
It's the same with, like, Nebraska, who I was a little surprised they didn't end up posting. But, like, Jordy Ball has just been fantastic for him. But that's not enough to win a national title. Like, you need.
And she's doing it hitting and pitching.
Yeah, she's unbelievable.
Did you see Riley Gaines walked on the Florida State softball team? She's playing with them.
I did not see that.
I made it up. I
was like, what?
I'm just kidding.
I was like, is Riley Gaines even, like, how old is Riley Gaines?
I don't know.
It seems like an unfair advantage. I think she'd be against that kind of thing.
Well, she's on the softball team. I didn't say she's on the baseball team. She's not starting third base for the Tar Heels.
No, I just mean she's old.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Speaking of old, do want to stop down and wish Kai Trump a happy 18th birthday.
Here it is.
From Soonerscoop.com. We celebrate all birthdays on this program, and I just want to put that out there.
We need an Eddie bingo card on the show.
I don't think it's a problem celebrating somebody's 18th birthday. I think that's a fantastic age.
We should find a way. Like, Eddie can't check it. We put it out on the socials, and if Eddie hits the bingo you're on, then you have to just smash whatever drink you have next. Like, you just kill it.
Just throwing it out there.
Every time
she's going to play golf at Miami next year.
Should be more like every YouTube comment that gets mad at Eddie for political leanings.
That is no political leaning in the celebration of somebody's birth.
You know how that works, though. Anytime you say anything that connects to politics whatsoever, they determine whether you're a liberal or a conservative.
That's why I play it right down the middle. I also support Pope Leo.
What about his brother?
No, they're scumbag White Sox fans.
How have we not done Eddie gets a Pope from Chicago? Like, that should be its own YouTube show.
Pretty cool. I found myself thinking about going to Mass. Because all sins reset. I know that George and I established that on YouTube. All sins reset with a new pope in. It's like a blank slate.
I'm sorry, Karen.
By the way, NBA Combine going on right now. It could be interesting. I mean, you might have another superstar from OU in the NBA.
I think you will. It's just a matter of where he ends up going.
He's going to be drafted like a superstar.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. He's starting to work his way into maybe a top 7 pick. Talking about Jeremiah Fears. He looks. It's so weird to me, and I don't know if it's one of those things that you just look back on it and it's because he's not wearing an OU uniform or something. But I thought like the video that came out from, I think it was just a workout. It wasn't anything with the NBA Combine, but I did like a double take. I was like, wait, is that Jeremiah Fears?
He looks great.
He looks like he's 25 years old now.
Yeah,
it's kind of weird. It's crazy. It's crazy to think that, I guess not necessarily crazy to think that he's going to be a lottery pick, but being a top 5, top 7 pick is going to be
just
incredible.
Don't end up in like Charlotte or Washington. Well,
unfortunately, I think he's going to probably end up in like Utah. I think that's where he was mocked.
Charlotte, Utah, or Washington. You don't want to end up there.
I think I'd rather live in Salt Lake City than DC and Charlotte.
What if he goes to the Rockets with the 11th pick?
Oh, well, I would hate that.
I know.
I would have to hate him.
I don't know if he's going to fall that far.
I don't think so either. I think
it'd be really cool if Jeremiah. It'd be really cool if what's his name? Who am I completely blanking on?
I don't know.
OU, the other guy that's up there.
Don't Jalen Moore.
Jesus Christ. Jalen Moore, it'd be cool if he could sneak into the second round at some point. I don't know where that would be, but it'd be cool if OU get 2 guys drafted. That'd be fantastic.
He's a perfect Thunder player.
It's
second round.
It is hard to
dominate with the blue.
Yeah.
It is hard to look old when you're on the same team as Mo Waggy and Jalen Moore.
Why?
Just because they look older? Very mature, scary dudes.
Yeah, I can see that.
I don't think they look scary.
They're muscly.
None of them are like Trent Wilson scary.
But Jeremiah Fears also looked like a baby out there.
Yeah,
for OU all season.
He did. He did. Starting to mature a little bit. He probably just celebrated his 18th birthday. He's hella young too.
Yeah.
I think he's like 19 though.
All right, but I know Bob will keep you updated with any developments from the Combine for basketball. And outside of that, it's recruiting time of the year, and we're going to get after it. Josh and I will get it started tomorrow, going over to Salina and seeing Bowe Bentley. And camp's coming up. George is going to be out in Destin. He's getting ready to head out basically for the rest of the month. He's just going to spend it in Destin, which
pretty much.
That's why you come to work here.
I will say the trip to Destin this week will be a lot more fun than the one for spring meetings. I like going out to spring meetings, but it is a lot of, they don't set up media sessions for you. You're basically sitting in the hotel lobby hoping that people stop to talk to you for interviews. So it's a lot of just sitting and listening to hotel lobby music, waiting for coaches to walk by.
Eddie will have a list of questions ready for you for Eli Drinkwitz.
Hey, I got him last year and tried to get him on the OU Missouri quote-unquote rivalry, and he did not bite.
I do remember that now, yeah.
So,
although he seems to think the rivalry is with Bob Stoops.
The coach that's going to steal the show down there is probably going to be Josh Heupel.
Yeah?
Because it'll be a lot of national media.
Be his first public comments, right?
Well, no, he spoke after the spring game.
That's right.
But I'm sure that because there's going to be
nobody's bigger than the program thing.
Yeah, and this is a huge spring meetings, and we can go over it next week before I go down. But I think they're going to talk about obviously the revenue sharing stuff,
the 9 games.
Maybe the House settlement could be figured out before then, and so maybe we get some talk about that. And Greg Sankey, obviously a huge play in that. The 9 games in conference scheduling.
That could mean $50 million extra dollars.
The college football playoff, maybe possibly going to 16 teams in the future. Like, there's going to be a lot of different things discussed, not to mention, OU-centric stuff. I'll be able to talk to Brent Venables, Porter Moser, Jenny Baranchek. They'll all talk down there. Joe Castiglione. I don't think Jim Nagy will be down there, but I'm not really sure. So there'll be a lot of news come out of it for sure.
It'll just be fun to interview Porter knowing that he's not going to complain about NIL.
Yeah.
That's pretty much every media session.
I mean, that's what it was. When I remember going down there last year, it was, they were really struggling in the portal. I remember they had missed on a bunch of guys and added some guys that nobody really knew about. And I remember he was he kind of voiced his frustrations just about the resources and, how tough it is and stuff like that.
Mentioning Jenny Baranchek's name, too, I saw that Aaliyah Chavez was awarded the Naismith Player of the Year award today.
Oh, wow.
Nice. At her high school in Lubbock. So, pretty cool. A lot of positive momentum here. Josh, Carey, and George basically said OU's going to win the national championship in football. Basketball is probably going to 3 consecutive Final Fours. And Jenny Baranchek's going to win 7 national titles and then take over for Gino at UConn.
I did want to say before we get out of here.
Congrats to Ryan Hibble's group. They won the Amherst Regional today. That became official.
That's some weather issues out there.
It's just awful.
Terrible.
It's raining in New York. It's raining in Philly right now with some double headers being played on the Major League Baseball side of things. The weather up in Virginia, that corridor, just seems like it is miserable right now.
I did want to say before we get out of here that Carey has bought something off my registry, and it's we very much appreciate it. Aaron and I are very excited. I don't think so.
I think I got a message saying it had sent or shipped or something.
It's crazy. This we get boxes every single day, and it's what is in this one? It's like Christmas every day kind of, but then it's it's plates, which we appreciate the plates. We needed those.
It didn't sound like you did.
No, I know. It didn't sound like it, but we do appreciate them. We really actually needed the plates.
I mean, I saw the registry. It wasn't really for you, and you kind of admitted that.
Yes, correct.
So I don't know why you'd get excited about anything that came in.
I think it's disgusting that you're accepting presents at all and coinciding that with Christmas. I think Christmas is about the birth of Jesus Christ. That's the only thing I celebrate. I don't even open presents anymore.
I don't even know what all of that... Anyway. All right, that's going to do it. We better get out of here before Eddie says something else. Thanks for listening. We'll be back again next week. George, enjoy the time off with the soon-to-be wife and all your friends down the way. Eddie got his wedding vacay. Now you got your wedding vacay. So glad you guys getting some time off. All right, that'll do it. We'll be back again next week for another edition of the Unofficial 40 podcast right here on Soonerscoop.com.